Continuing the lecture, we're on page 9. Last efforts in the region surrounding the Sea of Galilee. Number 1, at Capernaum, Jesus pays the temple tax by means of a miracle. And number 2, the 12 argue who shall be the greatest under Messiah's rule. Jesus gives a lesson on humility. Number 3, John is rebuked for his sectarian spirit. The principle is reinforced by pertinent parables. Remember that some of these disciples at this point are thinking Jesus is going to go to Jerusalem, he's going to be the king, and we want to be part of that kingdom in a really high spot. So we've helped you in your campaign, Jesus, and now we want cabinet level placement in terms of American political happenings. That's sort of the idea. We want to have the special roles, Jesus. We were on your side from the beginning. Don't forget about what we've done. Number 4, instruction is given concerning the settling of disputes. The parable of the unmerciful servant dictates the spirit which must prevail. And number 5, as the death of Jesus draws near, the Lord reiterates the demands of discipleship. As the period known as the training of 12 draws to a close, three of the 3.5 years of Jesus' public ministry have passed. In other words, Jesus is now within 6 months of his passion. And again, I'm saying that this is the first half of the training of the 12 in and around Galilee. The last 6 months, we should think of them as also the training of the 12, but in and around Jerusalem. The rejection by Israel is manifest, and Jesus is yet struggling to prepare his disciples for the awful events soon to occur. It's good at this time to meditate upon the course of events in Jesus' ministry up to this point. As we approach the last few months of this most blessed of all dramas, be sensitive to the several distinctive elements of the gospel narratives. Number 1, the insensity and lack of understanding of the disciples, those closest to Jesus, and the sorrow of heart this causes to the Lord. The second, the hardness of Israel's heart, especially manifests in its leaders, and the increasingly brazen character of that rejection. C, the many ways in which Jesus demonstrates his absolute control over the circumstances leading to his death, orchestrating events in such a way that his Father's will is perfectly accomplished. And just as a summary to this section, you see it in your notes, Jesus knows that the Son of Man must suffer and die, and to give his life as a ransom for many, and that the leaders desire now to see him murdered. He sets out privately to prepare his disciples for his death, resurrection, and subsequent absence from their midst. And for some 6 months, which is between Passover and Tabernacles, Jesus actively and deliberately seeks solitude, endeavoring to find time and opportunity to teach his disciples and prepare himself for the great work yet to be finished, and many times in Gentile lands is doing this. And in his effort to find privacy with the disciples, Jesus made 3 retreats or withdrawals, 2 journeys into Gentile lands. The first one is to Phoenicia, or the region of Tyre and Sidon, and then he comes around through the Decapolis, the Sea of Galilee. The second, to the region of Caesarea Philippi. So on your notes, think of it this way. Number 1, what are those 3 retreats? The first one is, if this is your Sea of Galilee, on the coast to the region of Tyre and Sidon. Second retreat is from Tyre and Sidon. He comes down to the Decapolis. Okay. And the third one is he comes up to this, let's see, would be here. Okay. Yeah. And then comes across to Bethsaida and then off to Caesarea Philippi. Okay. So those 3 retreats. Number 1, to the region of Tyre and Sidon, or we call it Phoenicia. Second is to the Decapolis. The third is up to Caesarea Philippi. Okay, so you can look at that map again. But the climax of this period of the training of the 12 is the journey to the region of Caesarea Philippi and the conversation, the great confession, and then after the Mount of Transfiguration, Jesus shows them himself in his glory. and he proclaims that he's going to die explicitly. And the point is, either you have faith or you have unbelief. There's no neutral ground. So that's the end of this lecture on the first half of the period of retreat or withdrawal from public presentation to private preparation in and around Jerusalem.